Hey, what's up, you guys? So today I wanted to resume my thoughts on that little, uh, I guess, post article that I saw on the MGTOW page because I thought it was a pretty interesting discussion. It's always cool to hear something from a point of view that you're not used to, and honestly, I was never really into looking at the point of view of guys when it comes to this matter. So now that I have discovered it, I'm just kind of obsessed with it, and I just like to read as much as I can and listen to what other people have to say as much as I can, just for the sake of checking my comprehension. And bear with me for just a second. I'm going to try something that I have never tried before, which is I will try to access the live stream from my computer and then sort of pause it to see if I can read comments from my computer instead of messing with my phone. And that way, I don't risk losing connection like I always do. And I'm already struggling. So just bear with me for a moment. I just want to experiment, see what I can do. I don't even know how to begin to find this. 25 minus 10. Oh, wonderful! I see me. I am live and muted and cool. I have never done this before. So I need to sort of pause it before I get in trouble with my thing. Okay, awesome. I see comments now. But you need to pause so I don't drain my allowance. Awesome. I see John's comment. Hey Zams, hope you had a fun birthday. I did. I have to do a stream on something specific that I did, which was I saw a movie. So you guys get to sit through one of my reviews that absolutely lack substance. Movie reviews. I'm just not. I wasn't born for reviewing movies, I swear. But anyways, okay, guys, it looks like I'm running now, up and running, and I believe that yesterday I stopped at the point of money. So the next point was about call me anytime. This is one of the most insidious falsehoods you will hear, particularly if you take the speaker up on her offer and actually phone her. In almost every case, your call will find her in the shower, just leaving for an appointment, just flitting through the house between appointments, just falling asleep, just waking up, or perhaps the most commonly used reaction, kind of busy right now. Translation: I'm with someone I really want to spend time with, or I'm waiting on a call from someone I really want to talk to. See, the looks dash money lies above. She will most likely express first utter shock and then anger that you would actually have the nerve to call her and disturb her at such an inopportune time. Call me anytime is on the same level of truthfulness with come see me. It's an often used to blow off with no real substance. When you are told to call me anytime, what you're really being told politely is buzz off. I've got too many important things to do to waste any more of my time talking to a loser like you. Now, when it comes to this one, I have a personal experience with it. Like, when I was with my boyfriend one time, like, this happened a couple times actually. Like, he had this just terrible, terrible schedule. Like, just timing things was the most challenging thing ever because he was not the texting type. So he would never tell me, hey, I'm about to come over, or I'm getting ready to see you, or, be there in 10 or something. No, he would just show up out of nowhere. And usually I kind of have a pattern to what I do. If I'm off between 1 and 3 p.m., those are the times that I'm thinking about fixing to take a shower. Or I'm in the process of taking a shower. And if I have to wash my hair and shave, God knows that that takes me about a little over an hour. So one time we had an agreement that he would come over to pick me up to go to the gym. This particular day we were going to the gym in the morning, and then I had told him that I had a lunch date with a coworker and that I would like to be back home by 12. Well, something happened that instead of us departing at around 10:30 like we had agreed, he ended up showing up past 11. So I was getting worried, and instead of me texting him, letting him know, you know what, I'm going to skip the gym because it's starting to be late, I ended up taking a shower without telling him anything. This was at around 10:52, and he ended up showing up at around 11:09. He didn't tell me anything. He didn't tell me what was happening. And then he actually started calling me. He never called me. Like, he never ever called me nor texted me, especially not first. But he was actually angry this time around because he thought I was ignoring him. And I'm like, you knew that I had stuff to do. If you are terrible with time, that is your problem. I am a responsible person. I promised my coworker that I would be there by 12. If I go to the gym past 11, it takes us 2 hours plus sometimes to work out. Realistically, I don't have time. And I am not someone who is bad with time. So, anyways, we ended up in a fight over this, and that was particularly annoying. But I told him, I'm not ignoring you. You happened to call me at a bad time, and I couldn't answer because my phone is not exactly waterproof. So, I'm not going to be showering with it. I don't take the phone to the bathroom with me. That's just asking for trouble. But, anyways, and then three on two more occasions he did that to where he just showed up without giving me a heads up, and I happened to be in the bathroom like around 7 o'clock and stuff. Usually when I work on a weekend, that's the time that I take my shower because I don't work out on the weekends. So, but yeah, it happened about two more times, and after that I just created a habit of giving him a heads up of, look, I don't know if today you're coming at 7, at 8, at 9, 9:30. So to avoid the disaster that you absolutely just nearly chewed my ear off over the phone over, then how about if I just give you a heads up, I announce myself to you since you do not announce yourself to me, and that way we avoid problems. I'm trying to be proactive. But really, when it comes to me and the phone, I am not in love with my phone. I am not attached to my phone. Honestly, the most emotional bond I have with my phone is for filming. And you guys see that it's starting to fail, so it's starting to frustrate me. And of course, to keep in touch with some people. But but really, if I lose my phone, I am not losing my shit. I can be perfectly calm and collected about it. I can work an 8 hour shift without diving into my phone. Nowadays, I do, just for the sake of not leaving people waiting to hear back from me for too long. But when I sent my phone away to get repaired a little over a year ago, I was perfectly fine for the month that I didn't have it with me. So if you're one of those people who you're absolutely married and, like, if you're not married, you're engaged to your phone, well, that's on you, but do not expect that behavior from me. So, but I guess I understand why this guy would go ahead and express this about women because, yeah, I know that girls do that. Sometimes I'm at work and I hear a girl having a conversation over the phone with whom it's clearly the person she is seeing, and then sometimes she says that she's on her way or she's in the middle of something. And I'm like, no, you're at work. Just tell him that you're at work. Why can you not tell him that you're at work? Or sometimes they say that they are leaving at a time later than what they're actually scheduled for, and I'm like, why can you not be transparent about what you're going to do with the rest of your time? To me that's kind of suspicious. But when I think about the person who I happened to be in the same room with, who was having this conversation, I'm like, yeah, your integrity is not exactly the most spotless one. So I guess I can see how this is absolutely true and why this guy would say it. And honestly, all I have to say on this matter is do not make commitments that you simply cannot fulfill. Do not make promises that you cannot fulfill. If you cannot be available for someone literally all the time, like you promise you will be, just don't say it. Because what can I say? It's okay to have one or two times where life happens and you cannot be there. But if you consistently let a person down, you're not trustworthy. And that person does not deserve to waste their time with you. So just show some basic respect. That's what I would say. Let me see what you guys are saying. That's good to hear. What did you see? Well, John, I'm going to not spoil it. You shall know the movie I went to see when I review it. I try to stick to a routine too. People are way too attached to their phones. Spot on, Zams. Yeah, I mean, I get it. A lot of our life revolves around the phone. Like, you can pay bills with it, you can stay in touch with people with it. If you have kids, you can be in touch with them, whatever. But just because you increase the frequency of your exposure to someone doesn't mean that the quality of your exchange is present. Like, let some time pass, give the person some space to actually breathe fresh air, and stuff will get better. Like, the world will still spin around its axis, like the sun will still continue to shine. You can be away from your phone for a little bit. Just trust me. Okay, the next point is I like you as a friend. Translation: you are not good enough for me. Breathes there a man out there on earth who hasn't heard this one at least once? If you have ever taken her out for a nice dinner or bought her flowers, you are more likely to hear this one than if you are just a casual acquaintance. She knows a meal ticket when she sees one and isn't about to give you the complete brush off. After all, she might get bored one night when Mr. Wonderful is out of town and she knows who the soft touch is. If you can live with being a friend who gets the pleasure of her company from a distance for as long as you're willing to pick up the tab, and you can accept the fact that she will be sending you straight home with a handshake while she offers her fruits to someone else, then feel free to accept this one at face value. Yep, I know about this because I totally see it, I totally hear about it, like girls who just talk about their casual acquaintances. Honestly, for me, I have always been open when I go out with a guy. If I suspect that he has feelings for me, and honestly, all I was looking for is a friendship, I somehow bring that discussion of dating and relationships and somehow work my way into letting this person know that, hey, if you're used to other girls giving in to your advances and you're trying to treat this as a date as opposed to a hangout, then you are wasting your time. I am not interested. I am taken. And I do not play games like that because that stuff just comes back to bite you. That, and I don't like to live a life of deception like that. It's just troublesome. Like, it's all right if you are going through a tough situation at home and you need to sort of spend time with someone else, not necessarily in a disrespectful way, but if you are trying to straighten your life out, sometimes you do need that distraction. You do need to go out and breathe fresh air and experience the opinion and mind of someone else. But I do understand why, if you are a guy who's single and then you're actually spending time with a girl, I would imagine that your intentions are to try to pick her up. And sometimes, vice versa, if a girl is single, you would like to um, spend time with her and see if something can bloom in there. But for me personally, usually when a guy goes out with me, they know about my boyfriend because I mention it immediately. Like, I don't keep it a secret. It's like, oh yeah, my boyfriend likes this, my boyfriend eats that, or this is something that my boyfriend would order, or this and that. Like, I pretty much make it clear from up front because clearly I'm proud of who I'm dating. I don't have to hide them. So it's kind of strange to me that people like to live these double and triple lives and then you try to deny it to your partner, and I'm like, no, that's just straight up disrespectful, and I personally could not be comfortable with someone like that. But I know that everyone's lives varies. No one really has a clean record. Like, I guess I have done things that could be considered inappropriate for someone who's in a relationship, but hey, at least I can say that by my standards, I have never done something that if someone did it to me, it would bother me. Like, I remember one time I was doing a topic about, what do they call it? Micro cheating, in which, for me, my opinion on that, to sum it up, is it almost seems like you're not allowed to have friends. And to me, that is one of the most toxic things that a human being can experience, which is deprivation from other kinds of social activity because you're relying too much on your partner. That just ends in disaster way too soon. So let's see what you guys are saying. A girl I liked in real life had sudden brain surgery today. That is tough because brain surgery is one of those things that I'm pretty sure is more complicated than it needs to be. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, I like you as a friend is perfectly acceptable, but only if the friend is genuinely a friend. I have seen people be emotionally blackmailed and strung along in that situation, and it's not okay. Definitely not okay. But also, another thing that makes it tricky is when you find yourself confused. Because let's say that you are in a relationship that's not going too well for you, and then suddenly you meet someone who's incredibly amazing. Like, of course, you will have your period of being confused to where you're not going to just exit one relationship to jump in another one. I've found myself in that situation. But hopefully you will let the person know, like your new potential mate, you'll just let them know that you're going through this period of confusion, and uh, also that this is something new that you're exploring and that you don't want to just necessarily jump into something immediately, and to just be patient. If that person really respects you and loves you, they'll give you all the time in the world that you need and the patience and support that you need. But at the same time, if they don't have that, they have a right to not want to wait for you. But I know that's beside the point. But what I'm trying to say is that just don't use people. That's just messed up. If you have a necessity, that's cool. If someone wants to help you and like supply you with a meal, that's awesome. Because at some point years ago, I was in a very needy situation. And anytime someone offered something, I wouldn't just shamelessly accept and not give anything in return, but at least I would be like, hey, thanks so much for helping me. At some point, I'll pay you back, or at some point, you will need something and I'll be able to supply it. Like, oftentimes, it was giving people rides because their cars broke down. There's no repayment. But when it comes to social situations like this, if you have, if you're seeing someone, just if you know that there's no fixing what you have, just let it go. Because no matter how committed you think you are, if something doesn't have reparation, it just doesn't. But I know that the human mind is more complex than that, so I guess you just gotta be honest with yourself. Lots of introspecting, maybe time to yourself, and find the answers for yourself. And I think I saw Garuda. Yep, Garuda. Hello, Garuda. Good to see you. Okay, number 6. Oh boy. I am not ready for a relationship just now. The translation is, you aren't rich enough, good looking enough for me to get serious about it. Closely related to the looks money lies above, but usually used after the initial bitterness has passed and she begins to regain her normal womanly sense of priorities. This one might have a bit of credibility if you were certain you wouldn't see her the same night second face with some dude in gold jewelry and tight jeans. Most women, when in the company of other women, regularly bemoan the fact that they just cannot find a good man. Oh my god, I hear that so early often. What this means in female is is that they cannot find a man who trips my trigger. Women understand this completely, but men tend to take it literally. Warning: if you happen to be one of her friends and happen to be the recipient of one of her patented "I cannot find a good man" laments, never tell her that you would like a more serious relationship with her unless you're the type who enjoys multiple blows to your ego. If you don't want to hear in vivid detail what exactly is wrong with you, don't express your desire to get serious because she will tell you with no holds barred. Since you're such a good friend, she won't think you'll mind a bit of honesty. After all, in her mind, she's simply helping you become a better person. That is just so painful because it's just when it comes to being ready for a relationship or not, I look at it in one of two ways. Either you have such a very conflicting schedule that you cannot imagine being able to commit to another human being, or you simply, like, the way I determine you're ready for a relationship is if you know that the other person's involvement in your life is going to make your life better in the same manner that your involvement in their lives is going to make their lives better. Call it mutualism. That is so important. But what I'm finding nowadays is that relationships tend to take a very unfortunate one sided turn, and for some reason, it is highly expected that the person who's not entirely cooperative for some reason demands the patience of the other person, and the other person, being the sweetheart and love that they are, they succumb to that. And I guess that can help a relationship if the person who's not entirely cooperative has their goals and priorities and are organized and they got all of that straightened out. But unfortunately, what ends up happening is that the other person gets taken advantage of. And I'm like, just be honest with the other person. If you're a student and you have a job and you also, God forbid, have children, just let the other person know that the circumstances in your life do not make you very easy to be dating. It's not that you don't want to try, it's not lack of interest or effort, it's just that your life is what it is. It is chaotic, and they will either be like, I cannot handle that, or you know what? I am willing to work with you on this. What can I do for you? And how can I alleviate your overwhelming situation? But at the same time, I just hope that people are just, I keep saying this, but seriously, be honest with yourself. Do not take more tasks than you can actually handle. You want to be nice, you want to help someone, but this person got in their situation willingly. So let them resolve it. If they can manage independently before your involvement, then okay, I believe they are worth the opportunity. But if you arriving in their life is to alleviate them and they were already struggling with their situation, that's asking for trouble. If this person does well independently before they knew you or before you get involved in their life, then okay, go for it. This is a person who clearly does not need a relationship. They may want one, but if they don't need it, I think that's a better person to date, because if a person needs a relationship to do well in their life, that means that they're not reliable. That would raise a major red flag for me. And no one deserves to, like, take on the weight of someone else's matters that they simply did not know how to handle. I hope that I don't come across as like just mean and uncooperative with a partner, but it's just that I don't like for people to be taken advantage of. I wouldn't like to be taken advantage of. And I feel like that is a symptom and an indication of that. So if you hear someone say, I'm not ready for a relationship, you should take them literally at all times. Because if they suddenly change their mind, it's because they finally recognize the, what can I call it? The convenient aspect of having you around. And honestly, that's just not cool. Nobody deserves that. So I guess when you have strong feelings for someone, you try to do everything in your power to change their mind about something and make you stand out more and maybe receive more attention. But I would just urge you to just consider how worth it is in the long run because it usually isn't. So I hope that I didn't really get too sidetracked from the point there, but I just don't like to see people being used. It's just terrible. All right, the next one is I cannot go out tonight because plug in your excuse. Translation: I wouldn't go out with you if I had to choose between that and root canal. Work without local anesthesia. This is one of several customizable fibs you'll encounter. Younger women up to about age 30 almost always use I have to wash my hair as the second part of this, while older women tend to lean toward I've had a hard day and I want to just rest. My aunt, grandmother, sister, college roommate, former neighbor, any other warm body I can think of quickly is coming to visit. Another popular selection that is, and is used about equally across all age groups. Almost without exception, the warm body about to move in is another female that keeps the door slightly ajar in case you win the lottery and she suddenly decides to reevaluate your offer. If the washing my hair story had even a ring of truth to it, the owners of American shampoo companies would now be the wealthiest human beings on the planet. Considering the fact that every female under 35 has the cleanest hair in Christendom, women over 35, on the other hand, must by necessity stop washing their hair 4 times a day because their 22-hour-a-day work schedules and the numerous daily visitors they welcome into their home simply don't leave them enough time for hair care. Perhaps the most interesting of all experiences associated with this fib is seeing the woman whose aunt, grandmother, etc. is supposed to is supposedly coming to visit out for a swinging night on the town, as tempting as it may be, avoid the temptation to inquire as to how her aunt or whomever feels about being left all alone in a strange town while she parties hardy. Doing this may provide you with momentary satisfaction but can also have a long lasting negative effect, such as giving you a reputation as being cold hearted. It is perfectly acceptable for women to be cold hearted vis a vis men, but it is absolutely not permissible for men to come across this way. The I cannot go out tonight lie is one of the most popular among women because by modifying the lie to fit the proper age level and associated lifestyle, women can use it throughout their lives with equal effectiveness. Man, to me, that's just insane. I can imagine the number of times that someone decides to just skip out on something and they use the excuse of someone is coming over. It's like, dude, you always have someone coming over. How can you even afford that, especially if you're a part-time worker and you spend most of your time complaining about how you don't have any money? But but anyways, it's just crazy. If you don't want to go out with someone, just tell them. Just be like, "Hey man, I find that I really do not find the enjoyment in going out so often, or that's just not what I do." But seriously, coming up with excuses, at some point you will get busted for it and you'll just look bad. Just explain to the person. If you don't want to do something, just straight up tell them. That's not my type of activity. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I like to do. But don't be trying to put in an excuse in between, because at some point your little theater is going to collapse. Just go ahead and say things for what they are. If you know that the dude is interested in you and you're not, just let him know. Hey, I sense that you may want to take an extra step with me. I'm not into it. I'm not interested. Or please just move on because you have no hope here. Just be honest with the person. Even if you break their heart, at the end of the day, they're going to appreciate that you were honest. Because I don't know, but if that was me and I was being used, I would brew so much resentment. Maybe temporary, but it's just not nice. It's not cool. So, but anyways, uh, this article was written by a pretty bitter guy. Really? You think so? As far as I know, this was written by someone who saw something in a book or something. I forgot the intro. But honestly, I think he's just trying to do a breakdown of the behaviors that commonly guys end up deciphering from women that are faults, and therefore have ruined the reputation of women and also the quality of relationships. So I actually find that this is pretty well written. Of course, it's in a men's website, so of course it's gonna have its, what do you call it, element of, how can I call this? Anyways, basically, you have to post the content as intriguing. But honestly, thus far, I am agreeing with what he's saying. It makes sense to me. Because although I'm not very involved and present in social situations, I have witnessed this kind of behavior. I got eyes, I got ears, and where I work at, there's nothing but people around me. And drama, this is the same drama that's encountered everywhere. It just has a different title and a different cover. But the content is still the same. Social creatures are social creatures everywhere you go. It doesn't matter if a woman is married, in a relationship, or single. If Chick is attracted to a man, she will make sure he knows it, even if it's just for a one time thing while her man is away. You're right. People do that. People just end up using each other. Like, just always be honest with your partner. If you have someone who is away very often, and that's not the kind of lifestyle for you, that's not the kind of relationship for you, just tell them. Tell them that you do not like stuff like long distance or very often than not being apart. And that is way better than just deceiving someone into presenting yourself as someone who has an absolutely clean integrity and you don't have it. Like like I have said before, I would absolutely struggle with a long distance relationship. I would immediately tell my guy, I am going to fail you. More than likely, I am going to fail you, but I am willing to try. But at least he knows. And it's not making the situation any better, really. But at least I guess I would be better. I would know better than to actually be involved in something like that. But if I do find myself involved in something like that, transparency. Just be absolutely transparent about it. And honestly, that will save you from so much trouble. And either you make it or you don't make it. But at least you were sincere. I think sincerity at the end of the day is the most important thing. But I see what you're saying, definitely. Um, I'll never forget the story that my mom told me of a lady she used to work with. He was in the military, he went overseas, and then she was over here partying, wasting his money, and being involved with another guy or other guys. And, the dude is out there overseas in another country, not even sleeping under a roof, out exposed to the elements, probably getting shot at. And then this lady is over here, all comfortable and sound and everything. Like, no, that requires a whole new level of discipline and respect. I personally can admire a guy who does that, but like I have said in the past in another stream, I could not settle for a guy like that because I would be way too worried, and I'm a person who gets lonely very easily. I get bored very easily. I don't want to say that I'm the kind of person who needs a lot of attention in a relationship. Like, I can be okay with space, but prolonged absences kill absolutely any relationship with me. If you ain't there, this ain't gonna work. Especially if you're gone for like weeks, months, years, like some deployments. That's why I say military guys are amongst, I would say, would make the best spouses because, hello, they're always in shape. And of course, if you think about it from a political and social point of view, they get certain degrees of benefits. It's like life is very easy for the woman all of a sudden. But if you're actually an individual of integrity, you will realize this enormous sacrifice that this other human being is doing for you, and you would absolutely respect that. I'm not saying that I absolutely do not have the discipline to respect a man who does that. I'm just saying that I would not be happy in that status, being alone most of the time, being worried about his safety most of the time. That for me is no way to live. He can handle that career, great. How about if you're just my friend or someone who I just know? But for you to be my date or spouse, I cannot do it. If you want to see me happy, that's not the lifestyle that I need. What's the point of me being taken and committed if I do not get to enjoy my man, except briefly? So again, I don't want to make this seem like anyone who dates someone who's in the military is wasting their time. But if you're someone who can handle being alone, go for it. I know that not all branches of the military are the same, but some of them have their challenges. And I'm saying that if I found myself in that situation, I would have to let the guy go, and I'm sure that he would appreciate me being sincere and me letting him go too, because he doesn't need to be with a lady who's just too clingy like that, you know? Like, I wouldn't like to be with a guy who's like that, like just too needy. It's okay for me to support you, but to be too attached like that, it brings problems. It just does. You just need your space. But at the same time, not too much space. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh my goodness. This is gonna be interesting. Can't wait to read it. It's my time of the month. Translation. I cannot think of anything better to use as an excuse at the moment, and I know this one will work. This fib might be believable if the woman was savvy enough to use it for 6 straight weeks. Women understand completely the fear and loathing men have about touching anyone during their time of the month and play it to the hilt. However, they sometimes fail to realize that many men are also able to read a calendar. Oh, what a wonderful way of putting it. And have the ability to count beyond the number of beers in a six pack. It's scientific miracle most of them haven't bled to death by the time they reach age 40 if their time of the month lasted as long as they would have us believe. Now, when it comes to this, because I am not intimately active, it really doesn't affect me or concern me that much. But honestly, to me, it's just disgusting that you would use such a thing as an excuse, because then if you truly are on your days and you don't feel well, who's going to believe you? And sometimes if you do end up feeling well and you're not on your days and you still use that as an excuse, you're just making yourself be um, not trustworthy. You're just a liar. Just don't lie about that. It's something that's naturally recurring. We get it, but men are not dumb. Sometimes I think like women just think that guys are just easy to fool just because they may like you or something. No, guys at some point have their awakening, and they will be fed up with anyone whose integrity is just questionable. So do not take a guy for granted, period. Like, if you don't feel like doing the deed, just talk to him. I feel like anything can be resolved with a good ass conversation. But for some reason, people are afraid of having a conversation. Look, if you cannot converse with your partner, your relationship is doomed, period. Like, both sides should be able to communicate. And I have been in relationships where I was not able to communicate and it failed. So it's obvious. We are social creatures. We need to let each other know things. And by talking is how people understand each other. So I just don't know why people run away from like responsibility. Just don't. Life is simple if you let it be. Women are cancer, go back to. Well, I wouldn't say it like that. I would say that most women just need to be honest with themselves. Do not let desperation get you. And also, do not focus on seeking the easy way out, especially utilizing your privilege in society for that. Because let's face it, women have a lot of privilege. No one questions us twice whenever we, have our accusations going on and whatever. We can ruin anybody's lives with a false accusation, yada yada. So, you know, it's about time that we started holding each other accountable. It's important. I think it's important. But of course, there's going to be the I feel bad, or don't punish them so severely, they made a mistake, blah blah blah. I mean, hold people accountable and you will see that mistakes just don't happen as often. um Not tonight because I have a headache, I am too tired, I am too sick, I'm not in the mood, I'm too hot, I'm too cold. Select your own. Several translations for this one. The other guy I'm seeing has one the size of a utility pole, so why should I waste my time with you? I cannot stand the idea of any man getting that much pleasure from my body. I don't like having to wash dried stuff off my stomach afterward. I hate faking it. The kids might hear I'll miss the Tonight Show. This fib is heavily weighted toward married women. Single women, unless they want to remain single women, don't want to use this one too much, lest they'll lose out on a potential divorce settlement at some future date. Since women believe that men have nothing but intimacy undermines, most of the time they have learned to use their intimacy as a lure. Up to the moment you slip that ring onto her finger, she is a willing partner. Once she is married, however, the need for using those favors to obtain security is no longer necessary, and you'll begin hearing variations of this particular lie. Having been cut off from your source of release and all the closeness women claim men lack, you are left with four choices: pleasing yourself, hookers, an affair, or celibacy. Which you select depends on your level of bravery. Now, when it comes to this one, again, I'm not a person who's active, so. But at the same time, if I'm in a relationship that is taking that extra step, I cannot see myself as being someone who makes excuses that often, because trust me, if I'm putting it off, it's not due to a lack of desire. So I don't think, again, a guy is really going to have trouble getting me to do this stuff. In fact, he probably will not need to get me to do this. I'll probably be ready. But for me, I have the mindset of I like to make my guy happy. And if that's what he wants, if that's what he needs, then just go for it. Just give him what he wants. He gives you what you want. A lot of the time, if not all the time. One night that you just do a sacrifice for him, one lousy sacrifice, it's not too bad, and it's not even a sacrifice. You should not look at pleasing your partner as a sacrifice. It should be legit a pleasure. And honestly, just why would you not enjoy that with your partner? I think that's part of the enjoyment and magic of relationships, that you get to be able to be vulnerable and do things with another person that you simply cannot go around doing with other people. So for me, it would be exciting to be able to take care of a guy like that. But but honestly, when you impose so many excuses, you are just hurting yourself because you are actually establishing boundaries that are just in your imagination. And then your guy is going to get tired of you. He has a right of getting tired with you. No one wants to be feeling neglected. And it doesn't matter how many kids you have or whatever, the guy has to let you go. It's not healthy for him. No one needs to be attached to someone who simply does not satisfy them. So when it comes to divorces and settlements, my goodness, it's crazy that people out there do this. They understand the ins and out of marriage, the business aspect of marriage, and they take advantage of that. They go from partner to partner to partner to partner, just draining their resources just to be maintained because you're just a girl. Like, what? No. If you want something, how about if you work for it like the rest of us? So, I don't know. To me, it's just crazy. I cannot imagine seeing marriage as a business move. In fact, sometimes I am of the opinion of I do not need to get married to demonstrate to a guy that I love him and I'm committed to him. But at the same time, being legally recognized like that has its ultimately benefits for us as a couple. So why not? But at the same time, I just cannot see myself looking at marriage as something so casually. I would take that very seriously. The vows, they're very serious to me. If I am not ready for the commitment, just I don't take the step. That's why I'm still not married because I have not been ready. And it's okay to not be ready. And maybe marriage is like college. It may not be the thing for me. Not because I cannot settle for one guy or anything. It's just that our circumstances are ever changing, and marriage being used as a thing that would force us together, it sounds like a recipe for disaster. So, how about if we just take our time, know each other, spend time together, and if marriage is the thing for us and we're mutually into it, then go for it. But I guess for guys and really people in general, getting married is not something so popular anymore. Especially having kids is also not popular anymore because that stuff costs money. And it's okay for it to seem frightening. It should be frightening. It's a big step. It's life changing. So it shouldn't be dealt with so casually. Let's see. What else is here? And then, yeah, if you're someone who is not going to be active, that's something that you need to let your partner know up front. At some point, as uncomfortable of a conversation and awkward as that might be, just let them know that that's something that you're not into. Like, in the present, it's like, okay, I feel like I am over the stage of me wanting to put it off, but it doesn't mean that I'm trying to force that on anyone to, like, please me. See what I mean? So just be sincere. Once again, just sincere. And if you find yourself not being in the mood very often, at least try. Sometimes you may find that they can use their charm or something, and then you end up being in the mood. And if you actually go months without being in the mood or something, there may be something medically wrong with you. I would have that checked out because I think that what is normal is for you to have impulses. But then again, everybody is different. It is possible that there's people out there who legitimately do not enjoy that or they just don't care for it. So if you're with someone who is like that and you are someone who wants that in your life, then that is not the relationship for you. Period. It's not fair that someone has to lose. So you should be able to be happy with whomever you are. All right, the next one is size doesn't matter. It's how you use it. Translation: in your dreams, shorty. Unless you have a Johnson that can make her gag from the inside, you run the risk of complete humiliation the first time she sees you naked. If she keeps a tape measure next to her bed, your best bet is to run and not walk to the nearest exit. Unless, of course, you can max out the tape. If you cannot, it's a safe bet she knows someone who can. Now, of course, I know that that's pretty metaphorical. I cannot imagine someone deliberately doing that, but maybe someone out there in the world has done that, and that's how this guy got the idea to write that. But again, I guess I cannot really comment on that one because I have never done it. But from what I read and what I hear, it seems like it honestly, people have mixed opinions. Like, people have experiences with small ones, and they say that it can actually be pleasurable due to some, let's call it aerodynamics that it possesses. Whereas, I guess the aspect of the word big is just more associated with masculinity, I guess. But honestly, for me, if you're a guy, all I care about is that you're a guy and I'll be interested, period. But maybe if I had experiences, I would be able to have a more elaborated opinion. But I wouldn't like to be judged by the size of my merchandise when it is limited. So why would I try to judge a guy like that? I know my physique is lacking in some departments, but no guy has ever made me feel bad about that. And I have never made any guy feel bad about their stuff, especially given that I haven't had the experience. But even if I were involved in that, I cannot imagine being rude to someone. That's what nature gave you, and it works. So I would focus on the fact that it works, period. So I don't know if that's really a satisfactory response or if I should have just left it alone, but that's the way I like to look at it. Would I like for someone to judge my physical traits harshly that I absolutely had no say over? No. So why would I do that to someone else? Just be respectful to each other. And if you have a vast experience and you find that that is important to you, that the size criteria must be met, then okay, you do you. But if you find that your satisfaction in life is dwindling, you may need to reconsider some things. I'm just saying. That's what I would imagine is like. I like you just the way you are. Translation. You are a total dweeb anyway, so why would I bother trying to help you improve? This one is particularly dangerous because at first it sounds so innocent. The luckless recipient of this little white lie may actually believe the woman likes him. Imagine his shock upon discovering later that she has been telling all her friends what a geek he eats. But he does drive a cool car, so she supposes she'll keep stringing him along until she meets a real man. Besides, he spends oodles of money on her. When it comes to liking someone the way they are, I guess that's just a phrase that we hear from very, very early on. But I personally like for everyone to introduce themselves for who they really are and how they really are, because I hate surprises. So in the relationships department, I would not like to be involved with someone who I think that I know, and then all of a sudden, when we really commit more seriously, I'm going to be like, what happened to you? What happened to the guy who I actually fell for? You were actually putting on a facade this whole time. You were deceiving me. No one likes to be lied to. No one likes deception. Deception is a sure way to kill any relationship, any trust, any hope, whatever. So, when it comes to liking someone the way they are, my philosophy is this: if you're with someone, it should be automatically because you like the way that they are. I cannot imagine you trying to change someone who you just constantly tell that you appreciate them and you love them and all that. So why is it that you're trying to change the very person who you claim to love? If you already love them, that means you find them perfect. So why on God's green earth would you try to change a person? Like, that would be the absolute opposite of you liking someone for how they are. So that just screams being hypocritical. And honestly, that's just awful. But I mean, life is just a huge psychological game, if you ask me. So maybe that's why people really, words have a lot of power, even though I can sit here and say that, say, some of the offensive stuff in the comment section doesn't affect me. I can set that aside. That's something different. But on the emotional department, when it comes to socializing with someone who you're actually interested in establishing a bond with, yeah, words can hurt a lot. Like, this is a person who is really meaningful for you, and what they say matters to you. So just be careful about what you say to someone. If you find yourself wanting to change someone, then that person is simply not right for you. Let them go. And you too should not try to just trap them. It's just an awful situation to be in. Let's see. Let me catch up with the comments. It's been a minute since I was here. I think couples should seek counseling before marriage so they can understand commitment, finances, etc. That's a good idea. I have never considered seeking counseling before marriage, come to think of it, because I would imagine that if you're ready to make that big step, is because you have considered a lot of things. But then again, unless you have had good guidance, or say you experienced the marriage of your parents, you're going to walk into this pretty blind. So that's a good point. I would have never considered that. I associate counseling with, you go there if you have a problem that needs to be resolved. You don't go there to prevent them. It's like the medical industry. As opposed to giving you preventive care, you only get treated. But the idea of prevention is to keep the problem from returning or from starting in the first place. But it seems like with counseling, I associated it like that, which is I go to counseling if I have a problem I independently cannot resolve, as opposed to preventive care. Interesting. I'm so glad you said that, because I would have never thought about that. Never ever. Let's see. Where am I? Hi, Zamri. Hello, Jordan. 25 lies women tell. Oh, sorry. It scrolled down. 25 lies women tell men resume. That's a good topic. Zamri, I've been there about women lying on me and my brothers about everything. Women are different now. Back then, men married women in their 20s. Nowadays, people getting married age 40 and up. Oh, now that you mention it, I keep noticing at the store that I see couples who are like in their 40s, nearing their 50s, late 30s, and that's when they're actually starting to have kids. Like, sometimes I see people in like their mid 40s, and they have kids who are like 8, 9, 10. When I think about it, I'm pretty sure that's because these people wanted to have their finances straight. These people are usually people with money. And I guess they just wanted to do all the adult stuff first, like traveling and whatnot, before settling in the responsibility that being a parent is. But to me, that's just kind of abnormal, because when you're older, your energy is just not the same. Your patience toward children simply may not be the same, as a result of you being more prone to exhaustion. So I guess that's become a trend now, that you are waiting, putting it off. And I guess for you personally, that may be beneficial, but for the kids, it may not be, because, imagine you're like 10 years old and your parents are about to be like 50 and stuff. That's kind of weird to me, because I guess because of my experience, my mother had me when she was in her early 30s. To me, that's what's normal. And I also know that my grandma is pretty close to age with her kids. It's like an 18-year difference. So to me, that's kind of odd that people are waiting to be super old to have kids. And when it comes to the finances aspect of it, I get it. You want to be comfortable when having kids, but again, I feel like that may have negative consequences on the kids because you are just not in your prime years anymore, especially physically, and being a parent, I'm certain is a very physically demanding job. So, to me, it's just weird to see that people who are like in their 40s and 50s have children, like legit children, not people in their 20s or 30s. No, kids. To me, that's odd. But, anyways, if you guys have anything else to contribute to that point, please let me know. I am very eager. I've thought about doing a separate stream about that, but I just haven't put my mind together on it. But yeah, what's your opinion on that? Becoming parents at a significantly older age. Also, especially for the woman, the older you get, there can be more complications when it comes to pregnancy. So, and then I also hear that it's more likely that your children may be prone to uh, diseases as well, like autism. But again, that's not necessarily the case. It doesn't mean that having a child when you're older is going to condemn them to have medical problems. But the risks are there. And as a woman, carrying children at that time also imposes a risk on you. So I don't know, you guys. Let me know what you think on that one. Let's see. Most women don't like romance anymore. Sorry, but size does matter to a point. I respect people who are saving themselves for marriage, but for others, I would say it's always better to go out to take the car out to a test drive before you commit. That's true. I have thought about that as well. So I'm glad that you post that. But I guess I'm just so simplistic that I'm not really trying to be too harsh on myself about this. But then again, I have a nasty habit of just settling down for stuff that's not even optimal for me. Like, that's given me problems in my past relationships before, which is I was not being satisfied, especially emotionally, and somehow I still stuck to it because I'm like, it would be inconsiderate or selfish of me to be desiring more when this person already does things for me. How can I not just be thankful for what I have? And why should I be more ambitious about something? And now I'm like, no, my mind has absolutely evolved when it comes to that. I used to think that wanting more made me a bad person. But actually, no, it's important that you are honest with yourself, and if this person does not fulfill you, then you have to let them go. So I guess when I get around to it, if I'm not enjoying the deed, I guess I should consider the fact that size may be getting in the way. But at the same time, I don't want to be like, you know what, honey, I'm gonna let you go because I'm not enjoying the deed, so therefore it must be your fault. It must be that your size simply ain't right for me. But I just cannot imagine me doing that. Yeah, I just can't do it. I feel immense shame saying that to someone. When a man turns down a woman, she will be mad. Can't take a turn down. That's why she's calling him. Number two, the man is just not into that woman. Most women love to go to bed to a man with best friend to get back at him. They'll have more time due to retirement. Well, I considered that as well, that you're having kids to be with them more because you're in your retirement years. But at the same time, at least for me, I appreciate it that my mother had me at the age that she had me because I was able to see her handling a lot of responsibilities. The responsibility of a home, a car, bills, her job, also being alone because she was a single mother. So I guess when you're in your retirement years, you can devote more to a child. Cool. But I feel like give your child too much of a comfortable life. And what I mean by that is because you are retired, you will be present with your child day and night, day and night. They will not learn to be by themselves. Like you can involve them in camps and whatever, but I feel like it's important for them to have a sense of what a life is like when you cannot have constant supervision, constant attention from your parents. um I hope that my point is illustrated there, but for me, when I look back at my upbringing, I'm glad that I had times when I was apart from my mother. Because for me, it was difficult. I wanted to be with my mom all the time. But I guess I am not as sickly of an attached person because she gave me the proper amount of attention that I needed based on my needs, based on my age. There were, when I was, an infant, I needed constant attention because, of course, I'm so vulnerable to the external world and whatnot. But as you age, you have to dial back on some things. And I feel like the retired couple may unintentionally induce some challenges on their kids because their kids are growing up spoiled. They are not growing up with a sense of being able to be alone and independent sometimes. See what I mean? But, anyways, I guess that's a good point. I guess I gotta weigh, do I want to be old and be constantly with a child, or do I want to at least be in a better physical shape for my children, which is my younger years? I don't know. I'll have to meditate on that one. That was a good point to bring up. Where am I? Let's see. Why do most women always say he raped me when he have money or fame? Well, clearly because in that instance it is a potential for payday. So women just know these things, and of course they'll come up with that. It's like I was saying the other day, why is it that when stuff happened you suddenly were afraid and you just could not talk and the authorities didn't do what they were supposed to do, etc., etc.? And I'm like, something about that just sounds fishy to me. If you were really a victim of something, you will not cease until you see that person being brought to justice, even if it's the last thing that you do, because you are concerned that your horrible experience is going to happen to someone else. I don't know about you, but for me, solving an issue, like, say, someone who's horrible for society, taking them out of society, like me being the catalyst for them being taken away and kept from possibly hurting someone else, I would feel amazing. I would feel like a Wonder Woman. Like I am doing something good for society. But if you just find too much refuge on the excuse of I was afraid, I didn't know what to do, I was alone, I was hurt, la 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 la, you lose credibility to me. Because I don't know about you, but if I get messed up, I'm going to scream about it. I'm going to let every single person know. I will want support. I will want for this person to be brought to justice. So yeah, I'm not buying a lot of the celebrity stories. I'm just not buying it. I will love you forever. Translation: I'll put up with you until a better deal comes along. The problem here is once again one of perception. Men tend to think forever means from this point onward until the end of time. Women, on the other hand, think forever in terms similar to the television season: 13 weeks and you can start fresh. Exactly how long forever is depends entirely on the depth of his pockets and the state of her moods. Oh boy. See, for me, honestly, I don't feel like I have ever said that to anyone, but I have implied it. But honestly, in my adolescent relationships, I feel like I said to the person that I would have high regards for them until the end of time. but I never really said that I would present the committed kind of love for them until the end of time. And it's because I've always been very realistic with myself. Stuff changes, circumstances change. You know about today, you don't know about tomorrow. You may know prosperity today, tomorrow you may know misery. It's something that I just like to be careful with because no matter how good something is going for you, something may happen that your opinion just changes. Like, there have been folks who I have dated. I want to say every single boyfriend that I've had, I thought that that was the guy for me, except for the one that I have talked about that I was just sure it wouldn't work. But, but I always thought that that was the guy for me, that I could make it work no matter what. But life has its twists and turns. So, and not only that, even if you're someone who has your priorities straight and you're feeling straight, something may happen and you just don't feel the same way. And I guess I would urge everyone to understand that that's okay. Feelings can change, but just be honest with the other person. Seriously, if you are caught up in the process of the relationship is fresh, it's new, you're excited. Of course, it's easy to make a lot of promises and just get caught up in the moment. But if you have actually taken the time to break down what it means to be with a particular someone and you still feel like you can love them until the end of time for that, then congratulations. I believe you have found the right person for you. But sometimes the flaws of somebody do bother you, and it's okay to acknowledge that and to let them know that they have stuff that doesn't necessarily turn you on the most. But for me, I think the most important thing is to not be led in a deceived manner. I have to work late. Translation: I'm having an affair with my boss. If you start hearing this one a few months or even a few weeks after you begin the relationship, better pack your shorts and make tracks. If she has to choose between you and her job, and by association her boss, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who will come out the loser. Best to cut your losses and get on with your life before she gets both the house and your savings account. When it comes to that, to me, that's just insane. I cannot imagine me being involved with a colleague who's superior to me like that if I'm already in a relationship or if I'm seeing someone else. So that's just an incredibly messy situation, and it's a big risk because usually people who have positions, they have commitments themselves. Like, as far as I know, every single leader who I have had has had a marriage already. And it's not like that matters to me. I'm not thinking about that. But when I think about it critically, yeah, all of those folks are committed. Because I guess, hopefully, this doesn't happen to them. But maybe another girl, one, or this person is significantly older. So, of course, they're going to have their lives put together a little sooner, especially if they're in a position of power that grants them more resources. But just don't play games, man. To me, that's just absurd. Especially using your job as an excuse to get away with something shady. I have to go out of town on business. Translation: I'm having an affair with someone from out of town, or I'm going on a trip with my boss, whom I'm having an affair with. The same advice as above, the best way to gauge how much time you have before she gives you that heave ho is to keep close tabs on how often these little trips take place. When they get to be a weekly event, it's time to boogie. If you wait too long, you run the risk of coming home to find your clothes in a heap in the front yard and someone else in your side of the bed. Again, totally crazy. I cannot imagine myself being able to juggle that. I'm not interested. And yeah, that's true. Who is traveling a lot, unless you're some kind of celebrity or politician or something, or just owner of a business or something. If you're like most of us who we're just average workers, you ain't going nowhere. You just ain't. So yeah, this guy has a very valid point there. Love me, love my pet. This is a classic. The pet may be anything from a horse right down to a guppy, but whatever genus it is, it will almost certainly serve as a very large buffer zone between you and any relationship you may try to foster. In truth, she will hold the pet in much higher esteem than she ever will you. It isn't that much of a stretch from trying to hug her while snarling Rottweiler seats between you and the sofa to her calling you to ask if you would be a sweetheart and look in on Adolf while she goes on her honeymoon. That's a good boy. Yeah, you know what? Pets have been a distraction in my relationships in the past, and honestly, what I like to do is just go to a room. Like, establish a boundary. It's okay to have fun with pets, but yeah, sometimes I feel like if a pet is getting in the way too much, it's because the other person is kind of fed up with you, and the pet happens to serve as like a furry fort in a sense. But yeah, I cannot handle pets interrupting me. I just cannot. So usually, when I have a guest home, yeah, they get barricaded. What's mine is yours. Oh boy, this is going to be good. Translation. What's mine is always going to be mine, and what's yours soon will be as well. Any man who believes this one might as well hand over his bank account to the first person he spots on the street. If you choose to marry a woman who already owns a home, do yourself a favor and buy a new house together. If you decide to live in her house, or if she refuses to buy another one with you, you might as well accept the fact that it will always be her house and you will always be a Johnny come lately. If she has kids at home, your problems are compounded by a quantum leap. You will become an unpaid maintenance cleanup bill payer. If you're lucky, you might even have intimate privileges for a while. If she's in an especially generous mood, she might even allow you some closet space. Enter only those rooms you have permission to enter and never spend excessive amounts of time in the bathroom, on the telephone, or in the kitchen, unless, of course, you're washing the dishes. Warning: do not, under any circumstances, violate the privacy or in any way attempt to alter the lifestyles of her kids. This is the kiss of death for any relationship and a sure ticket to divorce court, if not a charge of child abuse. Proceed with caution. Oh my goodness. So, when it comes to this one, I really cannot opine from a personal experience because my mother really never tried to like build a life again with a guy after my father. Like she never tried to marry or anything. But there was a time in which another guy was living at home with us, and there was a situation in which his daughter ended up living with us for some time. And unfortunately, he was trying to make her a priority, and the house was my mother's house. And of course, that was our house. And he was trying to give her the same place as us, and they were not even married. And then, of course, my mother had issues with that because, let's face it, it was disruptive. She wasn't exactly the most disciplined of children. She wasn't exactly the most careful ones. But when I think about it, just to break it down and be fair, she was not having the best upbringing. Her mother was not the greatest mother out there. But fortunately, my mother works with children. She can handle that situation. But what my mother could not tolerate was the behavior of the guy, in which whatever the girl said, he would just do, even if it was out of his reach. And I'm like, It's okay to want to spoil your children, but at some point you have to be able to say no. And that attitude was bringing problems into the household. So, but honestly, I can see how this is a thing. If a woman has her own house, I can imagine that it would be a huge accomplishment for her, assuming that she didn't just inherit this from, say, a failed marriage or something. And it mentioned here about having the children. So let's assume that she once had a marriage, and with this marriage, they ended up buying the house, but then the court settlement said, because you have custody and you have children, you need to have a roof over the head of your children. You keep the house, the man has to go. You know, one of those privileges of being a woman in which the court just tends to have a bias for you and favor you. So, in a situation like that, if you're just not ready to have a guy living in your house, just don't have him. Because it goes back to that earlier point about the one about what was it about? Oh, yeah, where if you go into a relationship and you have kids, you always say that your kids come first. So if you're going to have a man living in your house, that means that he should be having the same jurisdiction as you over the house. Now, on the point of kids already in the house, that's why I say to avoid disaster from happening, unless you have your own kids already, unless you have your own place already, and you're just well independently already, do not be involved with someone who has children. Period. So for me, I just cannot imagine myself starting a new home, or let alone, I would feel like an invasive species. Like, here I am single, childless. Here's this guy, he has a home, he has children. In the event that I do find a case like that, I cannot deal with that. Even if he were the kind to be like, I value your opinion, uh, you can have a role as a mother, I guess. I just cannot do it. It's not my mindset. I'm not, when I start a relationship or during a relationship as a childless person, I'm not thinking about kids at that moment in time. So, how can I possibly shift my thinking into, I'm inhabiting this house now, I am going to take a motherly role? It simply does not make sense in my mind. So, yeah, this is just crazy. Like, I would imagine how much pride a woman would take in having her home and everything, but especially if she didn't work for it alone, I can see how she would just take it for granted and have this air of greatness around her. So, I don't know. Just avoid disasters. That's all I can say. This sounds like disaster, so I can see why the guy would write about this. Because I can see it. People's fumes go to their brain, no matter what. So, let's see. Let's see what you guys are saying. Shoot. Takes me a second to scroll back. Huh. It seems like my scroller is broken a bit. So I'm gonna have to skip one particular comment. I love when a woman being comedy and jokes of helping sick people, being nerdy, a Christian woman to chill. What happens? A wife making more money than her husband. As a diagnostic engineer, I travel to some places every year, especially for additional training and audits, and I consider myself an average person. Yeah, this article was definitely written by a better guy. I just noticed it's from MGTOW. Seems to me almost universally bitter whiners with a victim complex that assume the worst of every woman. See, when it comes to that, keep in mind that, correct, you're right, this comes from a MGTOW website. So, of course, the guys here are already not pleased with their experiences with women. But let's face it, this is stuff that happens. This is stuff that some people out there think this way. So that's why people feel compelled to write about this and publish it. And unfortunately, just like my wonderful World Without Men video, it gets turned into a political matter, even when you don't intend to. So, of course, when you are reading this and listening to this, you cannot be thinking that this is applicable to every single female in the world. But unfortunately, these guys have the experience to where that's the reality that they have known. So that's why they present it like this, and they may sound bitter and all that, but for me, sincerely, I could I could start a website in which I decide to talk about my frustrations that I've had with men, and even the frustrations that I have not experienced directly with men, based on the behaviors that I know that some men can take. But I guess it also depends on your perception as an individual. You may be more sensitive to some things than other people, and you may interpret it a little differently. Because honestly, if I was reading this some years ago, I would be super offended and super triggered, and the tone of this dream would be so different. But when I read it, I actually like the fact that this person is being sincere, and that's the experience that they have had, and they're just posting it like that. It may be out of bitterness, out of resentment, whatever it is, but this person has had the courage to express it. Women do it all the time whenever they have an experience with what they call a douchebag. And it gets applauded, especially by the media and left and right. But this is something for me that's different. I'm hearing the account from the side that is opposite to me. And I'm like, you know what? Based on what I have listened to, what I have seen, what I have heard, it's true. And this is that guy's experience. So, yeah. But I see what you're saying. That definitely it's a pretty rough article that probably not everyone can stomach. But for this guy, that's the reality. So he's just sharing that. Darn it. I missed that comment too. Is there a way that I can expand that? I'm just not good with computers at all. Okay, well, everyone is a victim. It's called the worst of humanity. You have to know a woman's nature in order to better circumvent this society nowadays. Miss the good old days where you just stick it in and said thank you. People get burned again and again till they snap. I meant, I meant. Or they build up. Ah, crap, what am I doing? No, go back, go back, go back, go back. Or they build up walls to protect themselves from other people. I'm glad you said that, Mr. Bees, which, hi, by the way. Um, Definitely, there are walls that people just build up and put up, and absolutely no one is allowed to climb them. And honestly, it's kind of sad if you ask me, because I don't feel like within society, I don't think you should have to have so many walls built. Like, I would expect that if you're a member of the same species, you are all about your mutual interests. But it seems like we have become our own worst enemies, which is crazy to me. We're supposed to be building for each other. Women got control to date any man they want. Us men don't have that control to date any woman we want until we're rich and famous. Standards. I guess that's what they're called. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's very often than not, you can hear a girl talking left and right about what her ideal guy is like. Handsome, in shape, has money, has a house, has stuff, period. Stuff that makes their lives more comfortable and easier. And I'm like, how about if you get involved in the business as a member of society that you also are, and you work independently to fulfill your stuff, and then if you guys find it that you're good together, you arrive at a consensus to get your own home together. But if you're actually, like I said earlier, getting involved with someone just because they simplify your life, because you cannot independently handle the complexities of your own, then you are dooming yourself. You just are. Um, Salutations. The sneaky snake says salutations. That's funny because sometimes when I'm texting someone, I type many, many, many S's and then I use the snake emoji. Or in some comments, I have done that too to some of you guys. I just say it like that. Sneaky Snake. Please tell me that your name, Sneaky Snake, is about Metal Gear. If it's about Metal Gear, you have so much more respect for me. Or not respect, I respect everybody, but you'll be cooler in my book. Put it that way. Let's see. I'm pretty much going to breeze through the rest now because this is kind of dragging, and I would really love to conclude this topic today. So if I have anything substantial to add to any other points that I see, then I'll just pause it there. The next one says I need my space, and then broken down, he's saying come within 20 feet of me, and I'll scream rape, or I found someone else whom I want in my space instead of you. The mother of all lies. Make a life new. Make a new life for yourself before you get 10 to 40 in the slammer. Yeah, it's when I say to someone I need space, it's probably because we had a disagreement and my brain is kind of overloaded and I need time to sort of like process some things. But I never want space completely from a person entirely. It's like the situation we're going through is really overwhelming me. Let's put the topic to rest. So maybe I do not even need space from you. Like, I don't need to go away from you. It's let's put the topic to rest. Let me consult it with the pillow. Tomorrow is another day. That's the way I treat that. But for me to tell the man that I love that I need space from him is just weird. I like to resolve things immediately. But I am sure that at some point in life, there are some severe challenges, and I'm only human. I can only handle so much at a time. So that's what I would say. I'm a very expressive person. So I feel like there is nothing that a good ass conversation cannot resolve. You're a nice guy, but this is a kinder and gentler version of I need my space. The results are the same, however, she's still giving you the bombs rush, and you're back to pork and beans and living at the Holiday Inn. Sometimes you're a nice guy, but is followed directly by I need my space. In that case, you might as well move to a different state because by nightfall, she will have told everyone she knows that not only are you an a hole, but also that you were suffocating her and not allowing her to grow. To me, that's just crazy. And I have had girls come vent to me about their boyfriends, and they told me just that they felt that they were suffocating. And I'm like, why? I'm pretty sure that this guy was just trying to make you feel better, but you just didn't give him a chance because you're a diva and you, the princess, were not having things your way. So you think that the guy was just overwhelming you by probably rubbing reality in your face. Like, no, it's okay for you to not always have things your way. So you're just not a princess, but you're used to being treated like a princess. To me, that's just crazy. So yeah, it's just crazy. No man ever understood exactly what this means, but every man knows that it means to him. It means that no woman within earshot of your former significant other will touch you with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, just crazy to me. I just want you to be happy. Translation: like hell. This is another Hall of Fame classic. A happy man in the presence of any woman is doomed. The moment she thinks he's happy, she'll stop at nothing in her effort to make him miserable. For reasons that escape logic, women blame men. Any man will suffice for any untold pain and agony they have suffered throughout their lives at the hands of evil men, and by God, it is their sworn duty as sisters of the flesh to make them pay. If she tells you she wants to be happy, it's time to find a hobby or a second job or anything that will keep you out of the house and out of her way, or else you will pay dearly. What's even worse is the fact that she will first tell you that she wants you to be happy, then proceed to tell you exactly what it is that will make you happy. If you thought that being happy meant watching a football game on Sunday afternoon while drinking a beer, you may be surprised when you learn that in fact the only thing that will make you truly happy is for you to take her first to the mall and then to visit her mother. Nothing else will do it in her mind. The best you can do in this situation is to never smile or laugh or otherwise indicate that you are anywhere close to happiness, because if you don't, she'll simply move the misery train to a higher level. In a situation like that, I guess I should confess that I was once that girl, because okay, my guy would tell me that he's not happy. So then I would be like, "Oh, well, you're not happy. Well, I'm the love of your life. So therefore, if you spoil me, if you do things for me, that'll make you happy, right? As opposed to me granting you some space so you can evaluate the thing that would make you happy or whatnot, and you already know what hobby is your favorite, say watching football. So let me just leave you alone, give you your space. But no, instead, I am going to like overwhelm you with tasks that I should be able to handle on my own, but I'm refusing to. I was once that girl, I'm not gonna lie. But fortunately, that was during my teenage years, so I can, with confidence, say that I am not like that anymore. But if I was like that, I can believe this guy. And I can believe that there's women out there who do this still. So once again, like I said earlier, life is a psychological game. Unfortunately. Um, I want to have your children. Oh boy. Translation. Since I will probably play hell in this male dominated justice system getting alimony, I'm going to get as much child support as I can squeeze out of you. Women love kids, especially their own. They love picking out names for them and all the other things associated with having kids. Sometimes they'll even include you in the plans and schemes, particularly if you're one with the insurance. But once kids arrive, you might as well move into the garage, because she'll have about as much use for you as she would a grease gun. You'll be lucky if you aren't sharing a bed with the family pooch within a month after the blessed event. On the influence can sorry, I lost my place. On the porch, so she can have her child close by and not have to worry that your influence can permanently corrupt the child. She'll also start watching you so she can record when the molestation and abuse starts, so she can help you get convicted quickly and get on with the idyllic life with her children. Oh boy. So, once again, this is one of those massive business moves. Marriage is pretty much a business move. Having kids can also be a business move. Because, of course, if you get rid of the guy, then you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to keep your kids. And the more you have, the more you can get. But, see, unfortunately, in my hometown, I knew a couple of women who actually admitted that they did this. It's like, for me, it's so urgent for me to have this baby already because, the baby daddy's not around. And I'm like, wait, what? I remember the first person who I ever interacted with who told me was pregnant, we were 17 years old. I was like, where's the daddy at? And she's like, he's not around. And I'm like, okay, you know that a child costs money, right? So I'm not sure how it's handled in an underage situation. I don't know if there's like how severe the law is or something. But I just felt bad that this was my friend and she was expressing herself like this, treating kids like such a casual manner. But then again, when you're that young, what do you know? You don't really realize what's what that means until you start going through it. But yeah, I feel like some people out there have had this impulse to try to talk a guy into getting an insurance policy, and it's weird for me. And unfortunately, someone very, very, very close to me, they lost a family member who was married to a woman who actually turned out to be a pretty bad person. And then we always suspected that there might have been foul play involved in this because this was a perfectly healthy person. And all of a sudden, the first time he gets sick, he is wiped out. He was a business owner and he was also a veteran. So he was not exactly struggling with money. And he had a pretty generous insurance policy from what I heard. So I'm not sitting here and saying, that that's what happened. I'm not accusing anybody. I'm not an expert. I'm not the police. I'm not the judge, whatever. But if a person brought up these concerns, it's because they knew what was happening in their personal life. And I'm pretty sure that you would be excited at the idea of having payday for you at the cost of a human being losing their lives, especially if this human being is someone who you live with and you're just no longer happy with them. People are evil out there. There's some evil people out there. So, although this guy makes it sound, I guess, like all women are the same, this stuff happens. This stuff happens. Very much happens in real life. It just does. So I'm not shocked by reading that. Nobody can't rush marriage, takes everything upside down. You would make an ideal wife. That's a big compliment for me. I appreciate it. Space is important. Last night, my friend farted under the blanket. I got up and left the bed for a bed. I can't believe she just did it and acted like it didn't happen. Why would a cat say I like you first? Always want us men to like them first. Oh yeah, the who makes the move first. Well, I have had experiences making the first move, and it was actually frustrating at first because it turns out that at the time I was too blind by my hormones to realize that the guy really wasn't into me. But then I guess perseverance helped me get who I wanted, and then I just felt really proud of myself because I felt like I was finally taking control of the situation. I see a guy, he's available, I like him, I want him, I got him. But then when I think about it, sometimes I wish that he would have been the one to make the move on me because that way it's up to me whether the relationship takes off or not. So if I accept, I know my feelings, I am honest, I am interested, I want something with you. But when you're on the other end of asking the other person out and they turn out to not really give you a definitive answer, it kind of sucks because in your mind, you look at it as he didn't say no, but you also know that he didn't say yes. So, in the event that he comes back to you and something takes off, you already know that this guy is not really that enthusiastic about you. So, really, it's more of a blow to my ego more than anything. But would I be on the asking out a guy's side again? I'll have to come back to that one. I want to say yes because I just did not give up, but I just don't want to go through a disappointing experience again to where I was wrong about a guy's feelings and I ended up losing. So, yeah. Yeah, just, no, I can't do it. Let me reach for this. Oh, okay. That was bothering me. Let's see. But it's normal to sign up for an insurance policy, married or not. You know what? When it comes to life insurance, or really insurance in general, I want to say that you do it just to make sure that you leave your family with something, married or not. But really, I like to just not have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of worries, a lot of debt. So maybe if I was in a very financially stable situation, I would consider life insurance, but I just feel like it's not a thing I would do. That, and I really don't have anyone to inherit something from me. If the laws of nature play out, I will expire after my mother, so it's not like I can leave her with anything. And she's really old that I have right now. But if I were to have like family or something, then yeah, I can see how it's worth it. But I don't know. I guess I have to make a topic on insurance because I have my opinions about it. Last message worded badly. I believe all this stuff happens and it's awful. I didn't mean to come off as dismissive. I would just rather not give the worst of people the headspace to complain about them. What he was thinking, he lost an amazing Wonder Woman. That's sad. He's crazy. You're outstanding woman, Zimri. Well, I appreciate the compliment, but I understand that even if I seem ideal for most guys, out of the probability of ending up with a guy who just wasn't gonna like me, you know, entirely, it happened to me. That small percentage, that odd number, it happened to me, and it was particularly frustrating. But I don't know. Sometimes I would like to ask this person, do you ever feel bummed out that you didn't have me and whatnot? But then I think about the fact that no matter what, there's always someone out there who's going to be better than you. So even if you had the best of intentions with this person and for this person, and you were even willing to put them on a pedestal or something, I mean, you ain't it. I wasn't it for him, so it's okay. I moved on from him. You ain't gotta worry about that. um, let's see. Um, Life insurance, I hate that word. It should be called death insurance, right, Jordan? Do you agree? Because let's face it, it's not someone being alive who's doing something for you. Is upon their passing, you're getting your reward. It should be called death insurance. Stop deceiving me with words. Call it death insurance. Call it for what it is. And try to rephrase it something nice like, life insurance. This person's life is so worth a lot of money. No, call it death insurance. My parents must not be normal. They had signed me up for life insurance as a kid, and I had my kids signed up too. Really? You can sign up kids for life insurance? I never thought that. Fill me in. I'm interested. I feel like I've been living under a rock now. But I mean, I guess everything has insurance. Have you guys ever heard of celebrities who apparently put insurance on like body parts? That's rich people stuff. I cannot ever relate, I guess. I worry about your health. Translation: if you think I'm going to waste the best years of my life taking care of your sick ass when I could be on a cruise, you better think again. This is one place where all men start out at a disadvantage. Women outlive us by an average of 10 years, and they know it. Sometime around the age of 50, they reach what is commonly known as the cruise age. This is the time of their lives when they begin thinking about life beyond marriage. It is for them a magical time when all grieving widows get together and sail the Caribbean in search of soulmates with whom they can swap tales of horrible marriages they had and how glad they are that their old coot finally had the good sense to die. They look like they're doing well, and I hope the stream doesn't crash, but anyways, it might. But yeah, why are these women by themselves? And they also have a lot of money. Were they really hard workers during their time? But then when I think about it, if you are an older person, usually what happened is you are from like the generation of when a man could just work a factory job and you were well. But when I think about it, this doesn't sound so far fetched. Um, because let's face it, a lot of people are sick of their relationships, fed up with their relationships. So, what's to keep you from wanting your partner to perish so that you can have payday? You gotta be a whole another level of evil to think that way. If you are a middle-aged man and your spouse begins checking your pulse every morning, it's time to shuffle off into the sunset because she's got plans for the years after your untimely demise. If she starts feeding you fried foods and red-eye gravy, You might as well figure she's already got the ticket and the ports of call itineraries safely tucked away somewhere. I mean, seriously, I guess something incredibly terrible has to happen during a relationship for you to end up with so much contempt towards someone. But the way he phrases it, it seems so extreme. But when I think about it, some women out there really make it about the business. So this doesn't seem so far fetched. But I mean, going as far as trying to feed him bad stuff, that's. Yeah. If she really is concerned about your health, most likely it is because she doesn't want to have to go to work to make up for the money you will no longer be able to earn for her. Your best clue to this is when she begins pestering you to purchase a big life insurance policy, with her as the sole beneficiary, of course. That is actually what happened to this person who I talked about, whose husband was perfectly healthy and all of a sudden he died the first time he got sick with something. She was the sole beneficiary. And the issue was that it was actually believed that originally there was one will and then it got altered because of her influence. But that original will, alleged, never turned up. So I guess we will never know. But if that turns out to be true, then I personally know of someone who went through this just like that. Because as soon as this man passed, this lady was living the good life. And I happened to attend the funeral just to be there to provide support for my loved ones. But yeah, that is just repulsive. Like, I'm thinking about it now, and this was a couple years ago, but wow, that means I can say I know someone who did this. They started buying cars and stuff. Yeah, this. Wow, yeah, I'm having a moment now of like, all of this is just marinating in my brain. Let me see what you guys are saying before I lose the comments. Zamri, you're so funny. Yes, death insurance. Hey, Wolfus. Old women are not truly by themselves. If you keep paying attention, I bet there is a young stud that stops by her house late at night. I guess so. No woman don't like their boyfriends forget their birthdays, anniversaries, sweeties days, and more. You know what? I know that my memory is quite outstanding, but if my guy does not remember, I don't know, the our anniversary, there's so much more important stuff to be doing with our time than having an argument over how bad his memory is or how distracted he is. I just do not give importance to stuff that doesn't have it. I'm very sorry for the man passing, just so sad, pray. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that maybe down the line, at some point, we will discover what really happened. But yeah, I can't help but think about that. Just wonder. I think of you as a big brother. Oh my god, now that I think about it, I have said this to someone before. But let's see what this guy says. Translation: you've got as much of a chance of getting into my pants as a tourist, and Queens has of not getting mugged. This one is similar to the friend lie, except that you won't even have the dubious pleasure of an occasional evening along with her. The second you hear the big brother speech, you might as well prepare yourself to be on the receiving end of numerous phone calls asking for advice on how to deal with the bad habits of all the men in her life. Since she does acknowledge that you are a man, she figures you must know what makes them tick and are more than willing to share that information with her. She'll introduce you to each and every new squeeze, and you will never understand why you aren't simply bubbling over with enthusiasm over her happiness. She may realize you are a male, but it is completely beyond her realization that you might have any feelings toward her beyond that of protector and advisor. Move on, ya big love, ya. And don't forget to write. Now, when I called someone my big brother, it was because the way I was getting to connect with this person, it reminded me of my feelings when I was younger, of how I wish my brother would have been. protective, advisive, and everything, but I didn't really have that. So that's why I said to this one guy one time that I see him as my big brother, but yeah, interesting. Interesting. With today's technology, you don't need to remember dates of anniversaries or birthdays. Just type it in your calendar on your smartphone. Good point. But man, to me, that just it kills the fun. Honestly, like we have become so attached and dependent upon these pieces of technology that they do everything for us, and I don't know about you, but all this technology interference and automation, it's really making the world boring for me. Do you guys feel that way? Please tell me you feel that way. Just agree with me. Make me feel better. I want you to be successful. Translation. I sure as hell don't want to have to struggle along on your crappy salary for the rest of my life, so you would better get out there and make enough to support me in the style to which I am entitled. This little ditty is usually uttered not long after she meets someone wealthier than you are and who, by the by, is able to give her all the goodies she believes she is entitled to. This particular fib is only heard early on in a reasonably happy relationship. If the relationship is longer term, this fib is almost always supplanted by I'm holding you back. And the translation of that is our paper boy probably makes more money than you do, you loser, so I am going to let you live in the sewer by yourself while I go for the gold. If you hear this one, you can bet your bottom dollar that she's already got your replacement picked out and will be sunning herself on his new deck boat before the ink is dry on the divorce papers. I guess when I interpret this a little more critically, most of these people that women apparently go after, they tend to be richer or something. But for me, that's particularly tricky because usually rich guys wouldn't have any trouble finding girls to settle for because they're just landing on him like flies. So, where are all these available rich guys? Not that I'm looking for one, but this is like my critical brain wanting to interfere with the flow of the thoughts and being like, see, this can be undone, but when I think about it, usually guys go after more prestigious degrees, better paying jobs, so, and it is possible to just be going from flower to flower, just pollinating around. Huh, that's crazy to me. I'm just such a believer in making what I have work that I cannot imagine just dumping a guy just because I found one that's better on the financial sector. You know, if I will leave a guy, it's because he is absolutely failing in every department, the emotional one, the physical one, and sure, let's throw finances in there because we need money to survive. So if you're bad with money, then yeah. Huh, interesting. And then finally, number 25. I really want to know what's on your mind. Translations. 1. Let's see you weasel your way out of this one, boy. 2. I already know what you're thinking. 3. I already have your opinion in mind, so don't even try telling me anything else. 4. As if I really give a damn about your opinion, I just need a good fight. This is the big enchilada. There is absolutely no way any man can escape from this one unscathed. 9 times out of 10, she's been thinking about this for the better part of the day and already has worked out what your answer better be. You, of course, don't have a clue what the answer is, but she doesn't want to hear it flow from your lips verbatim. You've had it. No matter what you say or how sincere you are saying it, it will be the wrong thing to say. Your best defense is to try to give her the answer she wants, no matter how far from the truth it may be. She will expect you to lie anyway, so you might as well do so in self defense, and you just might escape with your gonads intact. Warning: never, ever tell any woman, with the possible exception of your mother, What is really on your mind, particularly if doing so may reveal to her your deepest feelings. If you do this, you will be from that point forward her prisoner. She will own you lock, stock, and alimony. The only thing worse than a woman scorned is a woman who knows your innermost secrets. If you believe she won't use those secrets against you in some future dispute, I have some prime real estate in Florida to show you. Okay, where to even begin with this one? So, I guess this goes back to the aspect of men like expressing themselves and whatnot, but I gotta tell y'all a story. I was actually on the receiving end of that. I used to have my emotional challenges. Let's put it that way. I could be down one day, very, very down the next day, and then rock bottom down the following day. The guy would tell me, talk to me, what's happening? What's on your mind? Why are you so quiet? Why are you so down? Why are you so sad? And I would simply say that I was not ready to have that discussion or that I would rather not talk about it. The one time that I armed myself with the confidence and courage to do so, it wasn't the best time of my life. Like, yeah, I thought that I could finally express myself, and I was, pretty much pouring my heart out to this person, to this guy, and for some reason, he exploded at me. And of course, after that, I was just too intimidated to ever feel like bringing up anything personal like that anymore. And really, the matter was something pertaining to us. I was pretty much expressing that there is something that he could be doing for me that he's not doing that would definitely make me happy. And then he just took it as I'm trying to control him and trying to change him, da 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 da. And I'm like, that was not my intention at all. I'm just letting you know that there's something you can do for me to just enjoy my time in this relationship a little better. You should look at it as an area of opportunity, not as I'm trying to control you. But, anyways, that happened and it felt awful. So, if guys internalize stuff, I cannot blame you. I want to say that I'm starting to practice that myself. Sometimes I go to stuff and I do not open up to my guy. I just am not. I'm just afraid. I just don't dare to, especially after that experience. And then it doesn't help when you get involved with a brand new person and somehow they also tell you, I would love to hear your opinion, express it, and they end up reacting in a certain way that reminds you of your past experience. And oh my goodness, that happened to me recently, and it was not the best time of my life. And then the best part about this is that we ended up discussing this, it was resolved, it was a misunderstanding, misinterpretation, whatever. But it still hurt because, especially when that wound is pretty fresh, and then the one person who you were finally feeling comfortable enough to open up to again, they do that to you, it really sucked. So if this guy is writing it like that, and I'm not even a guy, and I have experienced this as a girl, I guess this is just a human thing that just happens, which is you want to hear what your partner has to say, but for some reason, if it resembles anything like you are being criticized or attacked or accused of being a certain way, then it just pushes a button on you. And I'm like, no, I am never trying to fight with you. I can make observations and identify areas that we can improve on. And I'm just voicing them to you, and that's what's making me feel down because it's not easy to tell the person whom you love that they are not satisfying you in a certain way. And then I guess I guess depending on how the guy reacts, it's what really makes a difference for me. Because if the guy tells me what you're telling me is hurting me, I'm going to be like, oh, I apologize about that. What about it is hurting you? Maybe you're misunderstanding something. But when you actually go ahead and just immediately interpret it in an offensive way and you don't even question me because you know that it's something uncharacteristic of me to be telling you and you're taking it as an accusation, my instinct would be to question you. I would be like, let me make sure that I'm understanding where you're coming from. Are you attacking me? Are you criticizing me? Or are you just informing me of something? But in my personal experience, my guys, for some reason, have resorted to freaking attacking me immediately. Like, why do you do that to me? And I guess it also doesn't help that I happen to be someone who likes to avoid conflict at all costs because it intimidates me and it makes me just frightened and scared to approach you in any future instances to discuss any kind of matter. It's difficult to establish that communication, I guess, to where you can discuss so much in an intimate level, and no matter what it is, you can commit to your partner and keep your word that you will be chill about it. It's not easy. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I have never exploded at a guy and treated him like he messed up about something that he said that I felt was offensive. But I'm just saying that I have been on the receiving end of that and it was not pleasant. I have been on the receiving. Someone in the comments says, I can think of a lot more than 25. 26, I'm a good worker. 27, I like working. 28, I'm not a party girl. 29, I'm never on Facebook. 30, I'm a tomboy. 31, I work out a lot. 32, I'm busy. 33, I would love to. 34, I'm losing weight. That's funny. I love the comment section on this board or this website in particular because it's pretty amusing. The way that I was going to reveal to you guys that I've been visiting this site is by just my initial impression while navigating it. So I guess I'll turn that into a separate stream. Maybe call it Zam Explores a Men's Site or something. I don't know, but I think it's an awesome read. Like, yeah, some of this stuff seems shocking to me, but this is a guy's page. Of course, I know that the language is going to be pretty strong in it, and it's okay. We women have a lot of women's sides to like let our emotions escape, to vent and all that. So why can guys not have that? So, anyways, I know that's supposed to be a men's only site, but I mean, you don't have it locked. So I was able to access it. So the internet is free and open. What was the one thing that could have made you happy in your story? In the story of my guy overreacting or being offended by something that I was saying, what would have made me happy is him telling me, I sense that you're being rather harsh. Let me make sure that I'm understanding where you're coming from. You are accusing me of being, I don't know, this and that, failing at this and that. Is that it? And then I would have been like, not exactly. I guess the words that I'm using are too harsh. And then um, on this instance, the guy did tell me that. He told me that I could have phrased things in a million better ways or something. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Now you are actually attacking me for expressing myself the way that I have expressed myself the whole time that you have known me. That freaking hurts. So I guess what would have made it better is for the guy to just not attack me, but I guess he felt attacked by me. And honestly, when I read back through it, I told him, look, I don't know if I'm just dumb or my lack of education is getting in the way, but I absolutely fail to recognize where I came off as offensive and attacking you. Would you please guide me through that? And then he ended up saying that because of the experiences that he has had throughout his life of being pretty much pointed out the same flaws, he was not appreciating the source, which was me, which was the person who he loves and has so much respect for. And normally I err on the side of I have patience for you, etc. But on this instance, I was telling him of some things that turned me off about him, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, they turned me off, but not enough for me to be like, I gotta let you go. Or I cannot bear that difference. So, to give you a definitive, more concise answer, remain calm, remain polite. I am never trying to offend you. And I guess the catalyst for disaster in this one was that this was happening over text, like in written form. So maybe had I been on the phone or face to face with this person, he would have seen my face, heard my voice, and realized how chill I am and how not attacking him I wasn't. So maybe the way that I wrote it was like so serious because all my sentences were ending in periods and I was just being very concise and expressing things as, this is what turns me off about you. And honestly, at the time that we were having this conversation, I was busy. I was multitasking, so there were gaps between my responses. Maybe had I sent him a long message with the beginning and the resolution, he would have seen the ending of my thoughts on one sitting, and this whole thing wouldn't have happened. But then he ended up telling me that he just jumped the gun ahead of time because of his past experiences. And we discussed this, we made up for it, everything was fine. But it still hurt, because you are fresh out of a frustrating experience, and this person was pretty much promising that they were going to be different and they were doing so well. And then the very moment that they request your opinion and you share it freely because you have had tough experiences, or excuse me, tough conversations already, and they turned out to go super well. So you are once again counting that the discussion is going to go super well, and then they react like that. It's painful. But, anyways, it was a learning experience for both of us. I learned to not be involved in a topic that I do not understand. I pretty much stay out of his more extreme personal businesses so that I do not have an opinion that I just cannot back up with experience of my own. And that way, let him resolve it. He's perfectly capable. And in addition, I also learned to not be busy while having a serious discussion like that. So that way I can give him my undivided attention and we can either be face to face about it or be on the phone or something. Just how disasters are never just one cause. So what happened here was me being multitasking, him having a history of, being attacked for some things, me being the source that normally doesn't talk to him about this and I guess picks up a side that makes it seem accusatory for him. And those little things, all of that came together to create this issue. But anyways, we moved past it. That's what matters. But yeah, I won't deny that that brought me back to the times when I was struggling. So to this day, I'm still kind of like shy and nervous about discussing some things. And what I end up doing is, sorry if you hear me not saying much, just because I feel like I'm not qualified to discuss this with you. But anyways, he encourages me again and respects me again, and it was just a misunderstanding. He wants to take full blame for it, and I'm like, you know what? How about we both make ourselves responsible, because in the same manner that you had your conflict, I had the conflict. So, anyways, what matters is we made up for it and we learned. So I was grateful for that experience, even though I experienced some pain and fear the moment it happened. But I mean, if we move past it, then why dwell on it, you know? So there's that. I hope that answered your question. Just ask for clarification if your sweetheart is sounding unlike what you're used to hearing. You're probably misunderstanding something. So just ask for clarification. Ask. Well, guys, I have arrived at the conclusion of this article thingy thingy, and my phone is also about to die. So I will wrap this up here. This was a good set of streams. I learned a lot by reading what you guys had to say and then interpreting what was being said here and then reading this from the point of view of a guy. So yeah, this was awesome. I love it. Well, men and women are partners on this planet. We just have different roles to play as partners. Bye, Zamri. It's very fun. And keep up the good work. Yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. That was amazing. And indeed, this was a good topic. This definitely helped me learn a lot. And I'm pretty sure that by discussing stuff like this will make me a better girlfriend and hopefully a good wife in the future. All right. That would be awesome if I could only go like, and then the lights go off. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.